Aloha kakayaka, and does this, you can hear me okay? I have a loud voice anyway. And I don't have anything prepped. I don't have a lecture prepped. I wanted to talk to all of you about this project and sort of the ripples that made it happen and the ripples that come out of it. Because we've been working for maybe 15 years, and what I see happening is a renaissance of knowledge. The last 15 years there was a marriage of technology and interest that suddenly made all these materials available that once upon a time were only accessed by people who were willing to fight the dust of the archives itself. But getting digital images, getting them up on the web, is this huge breakthrough. And so there's a much larger audience that's both able and interested. And so we've been working with that with newspapers, and I know you know much about that, I think. I had, in the course of that, sort of developed my own interest from lots of different proddings to look at the earliest of letters. I wanted to see, because in my mind, the idea of literacy, and I'm swept with the way that literacy worked in Hawaii. I've been continued to be impressed at how that affected the society and how the society affected literacy. And that's all the interplay. The mission force and the aliʻi force are a dynamic coupling. But so I wanted to look at how that literacy was embraced and what it did. Because I mean, there's 40 years of interaction already. The modern sort of shallow understanding of things is the mission party arrives to teach the savages, and it's a sort of this interchange as though Hawaii had never changed. It was still this, savage pagan land, and well, actually, they'd had 40 years of interaction with the Western world. And granted, they're still wearing kapa and they're still doing many traditional things, but life had already changed a great deal. And it's a pretty sophisticated setting that they come into in its native way. So they've already got much of what they want, but literacy is a big piece of that. So giving the tool of literacy, to me it's like giving us the internet. And many of you will remember when the internet wasn't available, and now look how we use it, how we've embraced it. Well, I thought looking at those early letters would be very much like collecting up all of our emails from the first 10 years. They gave us, the internet gave us a new technology, a new place to talk. And it didn't allow us, we didn't talk about the whole world, but there's a fraction of our lives that went into emails, and there'd be silliness and depth that would be there. It would simply be a little slice of the whole. So I thought the letters would be an opening on that. I started to fumble around on that. And then Tom saw that we were doing that, and he said, I asked you to translate our letters a few years ago, won't you do it? And, why are you doing someone else? I was doing general letters. And so he and I sat down. I said, I'm not averse to it, but I'm sort of at a stage in my own career that I can do a lot of things. It's kind of fun. I have all the toys. But if I don't train young people to do what I do, then when I stop doing what I'm doing, there won't be a body that can. So I told him I will only take on this project as a training. And he was very open to it. And this is actually, my interaction with Tom is my interaction with all of you. Because you facilitate, you as an association of family, you facilitate what he's been doing. And that's almost another whole topic. I'm terribly impressed. It's going to kill me to see him go back to Wisconsin, and I hope it does you too. But what's happened in the last 5 years as far as building relations outside of these grounds has been real impressive. And so this project is a little piece of that. So I've interacted with the Mission Houses archive for a very long time. Pardon?
Louder, please.
Oh, in my ear I'm very loud, All of this happens sort of inside my head anyway. But I've interacted with the Mission Houses archive for a long, long time, but never really had a personal relation with the getting it out the process of getting it out. I was just serving my own. And this created a new network. So Tom allowed me to do a training. I brought on 3 kids to actually learn how I handle letters. And we did a 1-year project. Many of you have probably already heard about this. 2 of the kids already had master's degrees in Hawaiian. But working with these letters was brand new territory. One of them is finishing his master's, and this was like getting a second master's on the side. And then I brought in my godson, a 17-year-old immersion language kid who's very, very fluent, but has no history background and had never even learned cursive writing. So he had a few hurdles to jump over to get into this. But those 4, they ended up, were so directly impacted by this. They're addicted and they'll be working on this kind of material probably for the rest of their lives. But this is, like I say, this is a snippet, this piece. We chose the aliʻi letters. They represent a certain fraction of the interaction that was going on. Now we're expanding that. The possibilities that this project opened up show where else we should shed that light. Because we've been able to put most of the newspapers that are in hand, at least, up on the web. They're searchable. Let's call it rudimentary. We need to improve the quality of the text. But they provide a window into the past that is changing our modern perspectives. And it's changing how we understand Hawaii's history, mission history, Hawaii history in general. These letters and this collection is a particularly powerful force to illuminate that, because the newspapers, it's a bit piecemeal. We're putting back together a fabric, but this body, this collection is actually, it's like a high beam in a way. So we've gotten one, we've got the pin light going, and now we're gonna just keep expanding it. Talking with Tom, talking with John about what's there, where can we go, what can we do. But I think it's very, very impactful. I think most of you have, I'm hopeful, looked at the website. Now look at it again, because I've already heard from some folks that, oh my goodness, but it's still in Hawaiian. Keep scrolling, folks, keep scrolling. The way that those 200 letters are laid out is there's a typescript of the original, so you can see what we thought we saw. And I think, it's pretty accurate. Then there's a translation of that. Keep scrolling down, and below the translation will be the notes that we put in. These are not meant to be a scholarly annotation. These are intended to identify who are the characters mentioned, any kind of particular thing that isn't obvious from the translation that would help you understand it. That's what's in the notes. So they're not full academic, dusty notes. They're simply IDs that help make them make sense. There's maybe 200 pages in the Hawaiian. Thank goodness Tom has all those numbers in his head, because I've never dealt with all the numbers. If I really looked at 200 in Hawaiian and 180 or whatever in English, I might have given up. So it's better that I don't know. Let me do the one in front of me. Let me do the letter that's up tonight. And we did, in the course of, we had a year's contract. My kids actually worked an additional 5 months to finish that set. And they are pleading with me to extend what we're doing. Because every session, it opens up new discussions, new insights. Everybody knows who Ka'ahumanu is, right? And everybody knows what she did. She's, Kamehameha dies, then she becomes Kuhina Nui, she does this, she fosters the mission project and whatever. The letters actually shine a light into that whole process. And if you haven't looked at, one of my favorite letters was one that I wasn't given, I already had it from your collection, by the way, and I threw it into the mix because it's so insightful. It's Ka'ahumanu writing to Kamehameha. So it's really early on in the project. She's not convinced about Christianity yet, but she's liking what's happening. She loves the pono of it all, but not necessarily, she's not committed to baptism or anything yet. It's 1822. So she likes these guys though. Immediately, the mission team that came were so different from the previous. She's had people in her world since she was 10 years old, foreigners. these are the nicest foreigners she ever met. They could be boring, but they were nice. Well, I mean, because their main project is proselytizing, and so they do that. But they also have a remarkable skill set. They do good things. They're out to do good things. And most of the ones that she's met in the course of her life, they do good things for themselves. They mostly either want a profit, or your daughter, or a piece of property, or they want something. And these guys don't want anything. They want you to listen. And that letter, which highlights, her positive, very positive connection, but it really focuses on, I have a new husband, cool thing, and you're not writing enough letters. We really want this letter thing. It really illuminates the mindset about this new technology. Because in the bottom first she writes, we want literacy. It'll make us wise. And she crosses it out and says, we want the teaching of literacy. It'll make us wise. She's already literate. So we want the project. I think it's the smoking gun that launches the whole literacy effort on the chief's side. The mission is already driven. They want people to get reading and writing. The chiefs deciding that everyone should learn to read and write is really a collaborative effort that makes the huge product that creates this repository. I'm not sure that everybody really gets a grasp on that the native language repository in Hawaii is unique in the world. And the fact that it's opening up in the last 10, 15 years. I've had, I don't know if you might know Peter Arnade. He's our Dean for Arts and Humanities. He's an historian. He's been in Europe, a dean, an academic in Europe, in the East Coast of America, in Africa. He's been around. And he's so supportive. He's Kapali's dean, as a matter of fact, because he says, there are no new archives discovered. And the Hawaiian Archive is just this incredible resource that continues to unfold. And a big piece of it is right here. And so the changing view of history is being fueled by the mission houses, and that's by the Mission Houses Collection. That's a new, huge impact of this body on Hawaiian society today. Because Hawaiian history has been really distilled down into a very shallow package. Missionaries are all bad, by the way. Hawaiians are all nearly magical. And everything is gonna be fixed someday. Like was broken from the arrival of Cook and will be fixed someday. It's this collection that makes that be three-dimensional, real, and really shows what a dynamic and positive force the original missionary parties were. Now they're all human, and some of them I would have wanted to have coffee with, and maybe some not. But in the course of doing this, they've become individuals for me. And that's the beauty of it. I'm just a little droplet in the pool, but each one of us that builds the historical foundation we have becomes a ripple. It goes, what I learn and what I know ripples out to a broad audience. What you learn and you know moves through a different part of the pool. It's really important. The best thing that I can encourage today is that we all continue to learn history. I think that it flavors what we do today. And I love being able to say, when somebody says some shallow, vapid, historical comment, to be able to launch into some little vignette to go, well, there's pieces that make this look different. So I'll pull up Ka'ahumanu's letter, or I might pull up, I think Kauikeaoli is just a hero. So I can pull up when he was a bad boy and when he pulled himself into rights. I like being able to do that. That's a tool that makes today better in a lot of ways. And you all have that access to that tool. So these 200 letters are a window into that. If you just play there, that's a good start. Now I'd love to have more of you learn some Hawaiian. You don't have to master it to be able to enjoy it. And if you learn 10 words this week, that's not really a lot of new words, is it? It makes next week richer, and it gives you a chance. You can just keep building like that and have fun with it. But if you play in these tools, look at the letters, look at the original and compare it, see the words you recognize, you'll be amazed. Hawaiian is not a magical language. It's really rather easy to learn. It's really hard to learn well. I'm still learning. But it's the language of this place, and it's the vessel that's carrying a lot of the toys we want to play with. So learn a little bit of it. It makes what you're doing richer. I'd love to get you over into the newspapers, because the letters to me is like the, what do you call that? Introductory drug. So they're a lovely little introduction into the broader world of what's out there. But they play off each other and they illuminate each other. And so I want you to get involved in it. I want you to continue supporting it. We're going to lose Tom Woods. He has, with your support, generated a new kind of networking here that I really would like to see continue. And so I don't know who your new director will be. You've got a great staff that's trying to make it happen. I think the direction that you've taken is to be lauded. And so continue on. We've really only tapped the top of the iceberg. There's wonderful stuff awaiting, but we got to keep it going. So I got to keep teaching young people, because it'll keep us entertained for a couple of generations, I'm sure. Your grandkids will be able to play with this. So really, that's my word on the letters, is go play with them. Go enjoy them. Most of the ones that are in there are of interest. We're going to expand. Some of them are boring. My sister writes me letters. Some of them are good, some are not, okay? This is the whole mix, but you know, it's a lovely introduction to it. Play there, it'll raise questions, then go find answers to questions. Okay, I can't be more encouraging, but I also can't be talking much longer. So if anybody has particular questions about a letter you've pulled up, about how things are being interpreted or anything, I'm really accessible. I'm easy to find. So find me and track it. Get your questions answered. It leads to new questions. Okay, I'm going to bring Kapali up to talk about what he illuminated through these resources as one of the most remarkable events in translation recent history. So, Kapali, will you?